Hey everyone, welcome to Live Trading Thursday. My name is David Verbruggen. I'm excited to be back with you guys. I missed last week because I was out of town traveling on the road for TRADEway, but it was really a good time, good event. But I'm glad to be looking at the market with you guys again. Guys, you know how this goes, right? It's going to be up to you to see how good this session is, right? So I'd love to see your tickers. I'd love to see your questions, your comments, the stocks that you want to look at, any trades that you might be in right now. Great. Just throw them all out there. That's what the comment box is for. That way we can go ahead and look at those things with you. Let's go ahead and dive in right now, like we always do, and just take a look at market tone, right? That's the first step. Let's look at the S&P first and see what's the overall market do. So we have context. Do I have a problem going on? We have trouble streaming to Facebook. Well, you know what? That's a lot of words that thing just threw at me. I hope that you guys are hearing this, so I'm just going to ignore that, and hopefully we are good to go here. But anyway, like I said, we're going to start off with the there you go, the S&P. That's kind of our starting point, right? We want to have a context for what is the overall market doing before we go ahead and just dive right into looking at different stocks. So you can see here, we've been, let me go back to a year. There we go. Well, most of the last year, it's been kind of sideways, right? It's been kind of sideways. But let's look also at the very shorter term, right? The last month or two here, it's been pretty bullish. We go back to that 6-month chart. We can even do a 3-month chart. Look at that. That's just nice bullish action right there. In fact, look at this today. It actually broke this uptrending support line. So, what's going on there? Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that, this little bullish run is over. It could just be slowing down. That's a pretty steep line, right? That's a pretty steep line. So maybe I need to add an additional line, something like here. Does that line work? Yeah, it does right now. I mean, the reality is we're still above the 10, right? We dropped down to about the 10-day, and then we've been moving up for most of the day here. So I'm not going to look at this candle and say, oh my goodness, the bullish run is over. It might just be slowing down a little bit, which is to be expected. Things can't go straight up forever, right? They just can't. So anyways, that's kind of what we're looking at. How do we approach the market considering this, considering everything going on, still considering some of the major warning signs we're seeing in the economy? I would still be cautious. Can we be bullish in the short term? Sure. But we need to be cautious, right? Maybe reduce that position size, have a plan. You got to have a plan for when you're going to get out. If you want to take any trade, really, but especially now, you want to take a bullish trade, that's fine. That's fine. You can do that. But if things turn south on you, if things turn around and start heading, you need to know when you're going to get out to protect yourself. Will that result in an expense? Sure. But you know what? That's part of trading. If you are not taking any expenses in trading, you're just not trading. So anyways, expenses are okay, but we need to make sure we have plans. All right. Now, while you guys are still working on, which tickers you're going to throw my way so that we can look at that, I wanted to start off with, we've used the platform several different ways in the past to see how can we find some stocks that could be setting up, right? We've looked at the scans several times. There's plenty of scans in charts for TRADEway. We've looked at the heat map, just, hey, what's green, what's going up right now, let's just look there and see what might be working out. So we've looked at several different things. We've also looked at screeners, but I think it's been a while, so I wanted to pull out the screener again, and let's go to 6-month here. Screener is going to be under the find tab. Come right down here, screener, and we're going to create a new screener, just completely start over. And you can see there's several different levels. 1, 2, 3. I just like to go to the third, just have everything available. Now, most of this I'm not going to use, right? But I'm going to kind of walk us through what does it look like if we're going to go ahead and make a screener. And what I'm going for right now is something very specific, right? I want good stocks with good or at least decent fundamentals. I want them to be in an uptrend. And we're going to see if we can create a screener to where not only are they in an uptrend, but they recently have been pulling back a little bit. All right, so we're going to give this a try. We're going to kind of have to get creative on how we put this together. But if we can create that, we might be able to find some pretty decent examples of stocks that they may not be at buy points today, but they could be at buy points pretty soon because they're already in uptrends and they're pulling back a little bit. So they could be ones that we might put on a watch list, and maybe sometime early next week we can pull a trigger on them. So let's go ahead and do that. So here we go. We got a ton of data points, right? I'm going to show you some of the ones that I use in almost every one. And, I want it to be optionable, right? I want options available as well. So I'm going to select optionable. I also want to make sure that they have weekly options available. You don't have to do that, but this is kind of one of those options for you. You don't have to choose this, but I like to do the selection of the optionable type so that I can still see weeklies as well. You know what, the score, that's going to be important to me as well. And that'll make a little more sense when we get to the next section. But, that's the red, yellow, and green, right? So what is that? What are the fundamentals scored? What are the valuations scored at? So I want to be able to choose that as well. And then we can come down here to the, we get to the technicals. And this is where we need to get a little creative to kind of build that uptrend and the pullback. So what are some things that, we commonly see in uptrends? Well, we see the EMAs are stacked bullishly, right? So I'm going to select just a few here. We're going to do the 10, 20, and 50. And this will make more sense because we're actually going to assign some very specific things that they need to be doing in order to meet our criteria. So that'll be part of our bullish stacking. Volume, this is one that I want to pay attention to as well. This is going to tie directly into, the shares that are traded, and which kind of correlates too with how liquid are the options as well. So I want a 30-day average volume. And then price. We're going to go ahead and select current price and previous close. We're going to get both of those guys. And again, this is going to make a little more sense on the next page when we can go ahead and choose exactly how we're going to assign each of these criteria. So that's going to take care of this top section for me. There's a whole lot down here, and guys, don't let this overwhelm you, right? There's some of these I never choose, right? And that's okay. Current ratio percentage change, like I don't deal with that in the cash flow. But one thing I do love, and this one was recently added, and I love this button, liquidity. And this is going to be related to options primarily. So I want to make sure that the options are liquid, and it's actually going to kind of give us a score of 0 to 100. Of course, 100 being super liquid, 0 being not liquid at all. So I want to choose that right there. So I want to make sure on my notes, yep, I've got them all. And so I'm going to apply this criteria now. So at the bottom right, I apply that criteria, and it has all these options for us here. So now we can go ahead and start assigning some very specific things to each of this criteria. Optionable, yes. And again, I like to, there it is, stocks with weekly options. That's just me personally, right? I want to see the ones with weekly options. So I selected that. Here's the score. This is why I was saying it's going to make a little more sense. You can see green, yellow, red. And then if you forget what these boxes mean, just come down to the legend here. For today, I'm only going to worry about this last box, right? That's going to be fundamentals. So for fundamentals, I don't want anything that's red, right? We're specifically going to look for bullish positions right now, right? Bullish uptrends here. So I don't want anything that is red on the fundamentals. You can customize this however you want. But for the sake of time, we're gonna move on to the next one here. 10-day EMA. All right. So now that we're talking about how are our EMAs going to be stacked bullshit. Why? The 10 above the 21 day? Yeah, that makes sense. 21 day above the 34, you could do that. I'm going to select the 50, 10, 20, 50. That's kind of how I want to look at it. So that's going to be above the 50. And then the 50 day above, yeah, sure, 100-day EMA. So if those are stacked in this order, 10 above the 21, 21 above the 50, 50 above the 100, we should see mostly a rising pattern, right? Coming on down. I know I'm moving pretty quickly through this, but you know what? These are recorded, so you can click that button on Facebook and you can rewatch this, right? But I know I got to move pretty quickly on here. And you know what else I just noticed? I think my face is going to get in the way. Hold on. I think I have a button for that. Uh-oh, that's not the button. I apologize, guys. Okay, we're gonna roll with this right now. That might be a little small on the screen, but my face was gonna be in the way, so I wanted you guys to see this. 30-day average volume. So you guys remember what's our rule, right? If we're gonna trade options, what's our rule for how many shares traded that we want to see in the stock? And it's at least 1 million. I'm just gonna type in a 1 with a capital M. And you can see as I make each adjustment, the number of possibilities is dwindling. We started off, at the top, it was like 11,000 or something like that. That's all the stocks out there, right? And right now we're already down to 50 that are available, and we're not even done customizing this thing. All right, so for the prices here, this is where we want to get pretty specific and see if we can create it to where it's doing a little bit of a pullback. So our current price, I actually want to say, is below, and I'm going to choose, we'll see if this works here, the 10-day. So the current price below the 10-day, right? So it's pulling back, maybe for a bounce off the 20-day, maybe for a bounce off the 50-day. But I wish I had another current price option, but previous price will work fine, because our previous price, we're going to make sure that's above the 50-day. Okay, so current price below the 10-day and previous price above the 50-day. So now we should be looking at a stock where the price is somewhere between the 10-day and the 50-day, but stacked bullishly. And liquidity, remember, this is one of my favorite ones. We're going to go ahead and I'm just going to assign a value of 80. Okay, so that means, on a scale from 0 to 100, it's going to be at least 80 as far as liquidity of that option. If you remember the gauges on the options chain, basically it's going to put it in the green. That's where I like it, in the green. We're going to run this search. And there we go. We got about 29 stocks. So we just literally went from 11,000 stocks down to 29, and each one of these stocks meets all this criteria. Does that mean that each of these stocks or any of these stocks are good to buy right now? No, that's not what that means. That means that, hey, we have a starting point. We just did a ton of homework really fast. In about 5 minutes, we just eliminated, 10,000 whatever number of stocks. And now we're going to take these and we're going to put it next to a chart. And we're going to just look at these. And guys, you got to keep in here. I can make this a little bit bigger now that we got what we want. There we go. Sweet. You got to keep in mind, right? The platform is going to do what it does, and then we need to do what we do. So the platform just eliminated over 10,000 stocks for us and left us with 29 that match the criteria. Now we do what we need to do and sift out the patterns that aren't pretty. There still are going to be patterns in here that aren't pretty. Okay. ADI, that's pretty decent, right? I kind of like the pattern overall. I'm not going to throw lines on here right now because we got to get moving. But it's good to stay. AMD, ooh, down. That's a nice looking one. Look at this. Actually, I already had a lot of lines on here. Wow. Okay, so this line, oh wow, okay, there's a lot going on here. This uptrending support line It already has 1, almost 2, 3, and 4 touches, moving up nicely on the 50-day as well. And it happens to coincide with this horizontal support line that I already had on there. I hadn't put that. I put this line on here because it was resistance and resistance right there. I dragged it out in time, just like I do with a lot of my lines, and that happened to work out perfectly. The only bummer on this one, right? Look at earnings. Man, that thing is in a week and a half. So the conservative route would be to hold off on this one. But if someone was aggressive and they want to do a short-term idea that would finish up before earnings, there's potential there. Moving on, Annette. Okay, Annette pulling back some here, right? So that was a pretty hot run, and now pulling back. You can see it's still above the 50 like we told it to, but it is below the 10 there. So, and that also has earnings coming up in a little bit. Boeing. Okay, Boeing was uptrending, not as much recently. You can see that 10-day is just barely above the 20-day there. So it only barely meets the criteria. This is one I may actually throw off because in the last, well, since the beginning of the year, 3-4 months, it's been going sideways, right? So this one gets the boot. But that's okay. That's part of what we need to do, right? BP, okay, kind of moving up. Frankly, not a pretty pattern, in my opinion. I mean, it did all this kind of nonsense down here, really came down. Actually, I put in a wonky W and was off to the races. But not a pretty pattern. We're going to get rid of BP. CME, okay, not the prettiest pattern. I might leave that on here. I might leave it on here right now. Let's grab a quick line. If it can come back to that line and bounce, that would almost certainly be after earnings, which is fine. I might be more interested in this. So I'd leave it on for now. I'm not going to go through all the 29 that were on the list, right? I'm just kind of giving you a process. I'm showing you a way that we can use the technology, again, to help us out. And then we do our part. Coin, it's going sideways the last couple months. So I'm going to get rid of it. Dash, mostly sideways last couple months, going to get rid of that one. Dow, not a big fan of that pattern. EPD, okay. Not the prettiest pattern in the world, but I throw this line on here. You know, got 2-3 touches there. Starting to pull back. Maybe if it pulls back and bounces after earnings, that could be one to consider. So we'll keep that. FCX, same thing. It's just rinse and repeat, right? This is something that we can do. And then once we're all set, you know, once what's all done, we got 10, 15 stocks or so that we've got on a watch list that we're watching every day for the next week or two, right? And we could run a screener like this every week and keep adding ones in there to keep an eye on things. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, that was pretty fast on creating the screener. I don't know if I can do all that right now. That's okay. You can rewatch this, but here's another thing. Let's go back to the screener because recently there have been some system screeners added in here, right? You've got new ones you can create. You got saved ones. So if I click on saved, I've got several that I've made. But also if you click on system, you guys should be seeing this on your charts by TRADEway now too. If I click on system, you're going to see bearish trend search, bullish trend search, covered call search. So we just looked at a bullish one. Let's see what the bullish trend search is. And this specific screener was created by some of our friends at iVest, the developers of this platform. And they added some other things in here. They did it a little differently than how I did it. They really were diving quite a bit more into some of the fundamental aspects, you know, because you got return on assets, return on equity, return on, you know, all this stuff, right? And you can still customize how you want to set these right here. But then, you know, it's right now it's spitting out 51 options for us, or, you know, 51 different tickers. So we could take some of this even. You could run 2 different watch lists, your own And then, what is the system screener looking like? We can take these guys, highlight them all, hit the little beaker button, go to chart. Let's take a look at what we can find. Don't worry about all these lines. I think I was testing something out in the platform. Some tickers, you're going to find all kinds of drawings on my chart just because I was trying to figure a few things out. Okay, so Airbnb had moved up, slightly down now. Not a fan of it. We're going to get rid of it. ABT, kind of a wonky pattern right now. Let's get rid of that one. ADBE, okay. Bottom left, more to the top right of the screen. So that one's a little bit better. Maybe I keep this guy on the chart, right? AMAT moved up some, kind of sideways, starting to move down. I might get rid of this guy. It's the same thing, guys. It's the same thing. We can just keep going. ATVI, okay. It was nicely uptrending, had a massive move up. I think ATVI, I believe they're video game something or other. I'm not too familiar. I guess a lot of people bought video games on that day, or I don't know. But what has been happening since, right? Nice, steady move up. Is there something we can do with that? Whoops, it didn't take. There we go. Is there something we can do with that? Will that pattern hold? Keep an eye on it, right? Ooh, AVGO. Look at this guy. This is nice. 20 days been support for so long, and then boom, bounce off the 50. Okay, 20 days from support again, bounce off the 50 again. Oh, I wish we had seen this one 4 days ago. That'd be nice, right? Keep that one on the list. AXTA, keep that on the list. Who knows what that is? BSX, keep that on the list. That's almost a little too hot, right? That's why I wanted to get rid of some of the too hot ones and look for that pullback a little bit, right? So you can watch this one. It'll probably pull back. It's almost getting kind of extended and maybe exhausted. Maybe earnings will be the catalyst for that. We'll see. Cody, that's a nice one too. CP, that's kind of sideways. I might get rid of that guy. You get the idea, right? I don't have to go through all 51 of these now. You get the idea. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Just another way we can use the platform to help us out as traders, right? Even the developer, like the head guy, the Charts by TRADEway, this was his idea, right? He's used this platform to reduce his homework time to help him find stocks significantly. So if it can do that for a guy that's been trading for nearly 30 years now, how can it help you, right? It's all about finding out the system that works for us, learning how to use the tools and the technology that works best for us. So I hope that helped you guys. I'm going to guess it did because you guys were super quiet. I don't think I saw any comments coming through, but maybe that warning message at the very beginning was telling me, hey, this is going to work. So I hope you guys are at least seeing this, and I hope this was helpful for you. All right, we're going to shift gears real quick, guys, because we've got an event coming up this Saturday. It's a free webinar, and David Mitchell himself is going to be leading this thing. I'm going to type in the comment box there. There you go. You should have it both on Facebook and YouTube now. It's simply a link to register for a webinar. We're going to be talking about the Great Recession 2, right? Are we in that? Are we in the beginning stages of the Great Recession 2? We were already in a bear market last year, and we see some big warning signs at the beginning of this year. Are we about to fall off a cliff? So David Mitchell is going to be talking about that. That'll be Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Central. So I know most of us will be available for that. So Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Central, free webinar. Click that link to register. Love to see you guys there. And that's going to wrap it up for today. So have a great day. Have a great weekend. Be at that webinar, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, guys.